And then we are ready to do the last 3/4 of an hour and to finish 5:30. So we have been speaking about these types of skills and sub-skills. So we don't need to say more about that, I think. But writing, and maybe what I've listed here is routine in Czech practice, which it is not anymore in Norwegian practice, like it was when I was a kid and when I started out as a teacher. Then we were very deliberate by where to start when you learn to write a letter, and how you form the letter as kind of a starting point before you start exercising and get the motor skill of writing the letter, and letter by letter also to write the words in the same way. I think we must back to that also in the Norwegian schools to make it easier, and in particular for kids with ADHD, but for all kids actually. And also in mathematics, we're going to return to that tomorrow with a lot of sub-skills to automatize, to work to get the concepts, the knowledge you need, and then to exercise to get the sub-skills of mathematics. So that's objective for tomorrow. And even when the automatization is important, the first phase of skill learning relates to the knowledge. Some in the of those who have been writing about this in the literature speaks about a knowledge phase also in the skill learning. And the first to write about that, as far as I know, was a man called Fitz. Fitz, he was noticing, and I don't know the details of that actually, but he was noticing about how they wrote about motor skills, like this kind of phase where you observe and see how other people's perform the skill, and then to start exercising, and then trying out and revising your movements to get it better, and finally to have it automatized. And he was curious. He became curious. Maybe it's possible to think in the same way when it comes to reading skills. And he tried out, and he found out, yeah, that makes sense. And other people like Fitz, I'm not sure which nationality he was actually, but there's a British later professor called John Downing. He has been writing a lot about this automation and reading skills in general, and he uses Fitz and his way of describing it, as did Nyborg in Norway. So a cognition phase, and then this revising, trying out, refining your movements, and then exercise until it automatized. Just want to see if there is a message that I should. Oh yeah, thank you, Diana, for your comment to writing. This illustration here is Nageri's as well, but I've had others who have made a similar one, Nyborg, for example. And what the point of this is, and when Nagleri says the role of pass, we could say the role of the brain's processes when it comes to novel tasks, they are very important. and in particular, planning is very important. And maybe we could say planning and successive, but planning is very important when there is a novel task, because then you need to kind of get organized in one way or another. And then when you little by little acquire a skill, acquire knowledge, the role of the processes diminish. And when a skill and when a task is automatized, it kind of goes by itself, and your mind can actually, in some for some skills, be occupied with something else. And now over to the last, and now we are in root again. Important content, attention, curriculum. So please look at this. Maybe you've seen it before, actually, because I have not made a totally new picture. So if you've been in my courses before, maybe you've seen it. Excuse me for that. So what is it? I can reveal it for you. You are not so talkative. Yeah. So maybe you saw it, or maybe you thought it was a forest from a plane who's about to land or something. But how could if you knew this must be a broccoli, what did you relate to? We don't know because the image is blurred. That's by intention, actually, that it's blurred. So then when the image is blurred, you're asked to, excuse me, you are kind of forced to think and try to find out, and what can help you find out? Well, maybe the color is helpful. And maybe the shapes that kind of occur in the blurred picture. Or maybe the different shades of the color, and so on and so on. But it becomes very clear that it relates to our knowledge, to kind of code what we see. Color and shape, yes. Structure. A bullfrog in a pond. Wow. This is creative. Yeah, but definitely we use our brain and we try to find something that is similar to get an idea about what it could be. So and that's how we can arrive to these basic conceptual systems. And here is also the Czech words, because this has been translated in the course is almost 2 years ago. And we have all these shapes, colors, position, as so on and so forth. And just look at them. Of course, the word basic concepts says something about they are important, but it doesn't necessarily say why they are important. Yeah, Celia was guessing moss, which is also quite relevant, isn't it? Because you look for the similarities. And this picture that I showed you, it could be similar to moss as well. And this is particular, particular. Thank you for all your answers. because they are so illustrative. They tell us about how our brain works, because our brain looks for similarities all the time, and specific all the times when we experience something new. Then our brain works very hard to kind of compare and to try to find out what is this. And actually, to try to find out and to try to find such similarities, these basic concepts are essential, because they are properties of almost everything in the world. Like anything in our surroundings has a kind of shape, or a set of shapes. Like the bottle I showed you, it has different parts, and the different parts, different shapes, like round shape on the lid, like a kind of a straight line shape when you just see it like this, and so on. It has a color, doesn't it? And when I hold it in my hand like this, it has a position. I can change the position in different ways. It has a size, and actually this is not a bottle, but it is could have been almost a bottle, but they are different in size, and they're different also in shape, as you will see when I give it to you in this direction, and so on. And it has a position. Now it is in my hand. Now I give it another position. Now it is on a plate. Maybe you can't see it is a plate, but it is from a wooden plate made of my father, actually, which is not so important in this place. It has a function. It has at least two functions. It can keep water or some liquid, and it's possible to drink from it. It has a number, it's just one. And it has holes, and it has parts of holes, a hole and two parts. And we also can speak about parts when we look at the different parts of it, like the bottom has a shape and the container has a shape, and so on. Okay. Yeah. Morten gave me a message about the picture. They are blurred, so but it's important that I keep them in the focus of the. No. Okay, it doesn't help. Excuse me for this. I will not show you things then. I will, but you can, I will ask you to imagine, because I don't know whether I can get the background really. If it's easy, blur my background. Now it's not blurred. Now I can use it. Okay, that was easy. So can it make sounds? Listen carefully. I don't know whether, probably you can't hear this sound. I'm not sure, but you can imagine the sounds if you can't hear them. Yes, we can. Oh, that's good. Thank you. Thank you for using the chat. Yes, and also it's made of some specific materials. Often bottles are made of glass or of plastic. This is made of neither of them, because it's made of like aluminium or steel probably. And the material has some special properties so that they can help keeping the water cool. And we haven't finished yet, because there could be patterns on it, and we can you can maybe see some patterns, stripes here on the top. I said something about the temperature related also to the material. It has a weight and it's quite heavy now, and then you probably will infer that it's full of water. Yes, it is. It would be much easier, have a smaller weight if it was empty. And well, when this bottle was new, I could feel a special taste when I used this. It doesn't smell anything, and so on and so on. It can be emptied in the run of some certain time. And if I know that I should drink at least half a liter of water a day, then I know that if I drink it before lunch, I can do what I like the rest of the day. For example, it has a value because it is nice and it gives me the water I need and so on. It's not alive. And there are some similarities and differences with other bottles, so on. So this just to demonstrate how these basic concepts relate to not everything, of course, but most things. And that is related to, or that gives us a secret. About how does the brain remember? Because we have this figure here. This is the analysis of our what is in our long-term memory of the different categories of ways of knowing, we could say. I want also to use you to show you these pictures. This one is here an illustration from a book of a professor called Joachim Fuster, an American professor of medicine who has devoted his life to brain research. And this picture here is of brain cells connection. And as you can see, and we'll look at it more detail to that in a moment, but here you can see they are not together. There is a small room, let's say room, in lack of other words, between them, and they need to connect, and they do. I'll return to that. But the point here is that once something happens between two brain cells in our brain, one of the 100 billions, there is a very, very big number of them. But still, these small items, brain cells, they can connect to each other. And once there is a connection, that gives the possibility of an easier activation next time it's relevant. And not only these two brain cells, but all other brain cells that those have been in contact with just in the last minute or 3 years ago or whenever, because those traces are there in our brain. And as you can see, maybe the headlines here, Hebb's rule. Hebb was one of the first to describe this. And Hebb was a Canadian professor in neuropsychology. And Fuster uses Hebb and refers to Hebb. So what you can see on the picture to the right is how this creates networks. And they have been able to make pictures of those networks. And as you can see, in a 1-month-old baby, there is quite some networks already. And some of them is established before birth. And in a 4 years child, there is a very large, much larger network. And in an adult like you and me, we have numberless. Because when there are 100 billions of brain cells, there are an endless number of combinations of brain cells. And whenever we experience something, there is a new connection between brain cells. This is how they meet, and they don't touch, but they are created in a way that they can send messages between them. Let's say it's as simple as that. And this makes networks in our brain, and we can kind of make a picture of how this works in an other way than just showing pictures of these brain networks. We can think about, for example, the word red, which is in the center here, as you can see. The word red. It gives us such a lot of thoughts or associations, like with fire. And when I read the word fire now, I think of what's going on Iceland. This little town, Grindavik, is that also in the news in Czech? I don't know. In Norway it is, because that's Iceland is close to us naturally. But maybe you also have heard about the volcano that has plunged the lava on the landscape, and also now arrived in this little town Grindavik and set some of the houses on fire. That was my associations, and you have probably a lot of other associations. And as you can see here, there are a lot of other associations listed here, but we could enlarge this with a lot of other associations. Yes, thank you, Diana, for this comment. The saying, the cells that fire together, wire together, that's Hebb's formulation, actually. And that can be referred back to him. And this is the point, actually. It's exactly the point of this. Cells that wire together, and they wire together when there is disconnection between them. And it is amazing. And it gives us some type of explanation, or possible explanation, I have to say, because this is something I have inferred, that when these basic concepts actually are relevant for anything that we can perceive, means that they are actuated all the time, again and again and again, in different situations, with different connections. And that's why they give us access to such a lot of relevant information to activate in the new situations when we need to code something. And let's draw the line back to the ADHD persons who needs to have things automatized. This is also a way of automatizing a part of knowledge that our brain needs. All these basic concepts. And let's look a little bit. Now I have to just relate to my watch so that I can... Hva sa du? Er klokka 17:09 nå? Excuse me, my watch has stopped. Oh. Thank you for telling me. I could have kept you here for all evening. I'm not going to do that. Look here. Here are several things having a red color. And what starts already in our brain is to look for similarities, as I told you. And some of you will have seen these pictures before, or something similar, or Sylvia, we did this in real world, with real world things. Actually, we did that in Liberec 2 years ago too. So a lot of things that we can that helps us finding similarities and differences, because all these things that you can see here, they are not similar in color, but they are similar in having red colors. And that's a big discovery, actually. And it is a discovery that, yes, for us, it's natural. Even if it's new for us, we can immediately say it makes sense, but maybe not knowing the point of it. But still, it makes sense. It is correct. They are not similar in color, Some are lighter, some are darker, some are even close to purple or even brown or black. But still there are some similarities that gives us the idea they have different red colors. But for some kids, it's not that easy actually, because and that's particular people and children that appear like slow learners with mental impairments. For them, this about similarity is not something that easily occurs and that their brain easily relates to. That's not the problem of children, most children at least, with ADHD, but still to really have this verbalization and this kind of verbal consciousness that goes on in our brain here, and to help and give tools to these processes, that is helpful for the children with ADHD. And yes, Sylvia, for children, color is the most distinctive feature, and in some ways for all of us. The colors speak very, very loud, so to say, literally, of course. But there is also some kids that does not relate so easy to colors. And when I was working with the concept teaching model of Nyborg early, which is what I kind of introduced parts of to you that hasn't been exposed to that before, now in this setting. But when I was the first time I worked with children with severe learning problems, I realized that color wasn't possible to use for her, because she was confused about not red and green that we often see, that's more normal, but blue and green. And because of that, she didn't relate to colors at all. I couldn't use them. So there are some exceptions, but for most kids, this is a very strong thing. And actually, it even was for her, even if she was not able to distinguish clearly between them. So when we learn concepts, we also relate to differences. And we need also to relate to differences between the category and other categories. And if the category is red color, here are some examples of tasks in which you have to distinguish between here, the red and the green, and we can easily discover is the child have this color blindness related to these two colors, because then they can't see the difference. But which of them, not to explain the difference, but just to point out which one has a red color. And the pencils, and as you can see, the child here has picked out the red colored, and also the red colored scissor. It's a discrimination that prevents an overgeneralization. That could be of color, for example, or something else that we can't know. If we use only one special material to teach basic concepts, for example, the plastic sheets looking like this, but in different colors, different sizes, and maybe also different thicknesses, we cannot be sure that it is the colors or the sizes or whatever that is related to, and not the material, that the material doesn't play a role. So we need to present different things with different properties to make sure that it's this particular property that that really is what the child discover and discriminate from the rest of the picture they can see, or the reality, of course, they can see when we use real things. And when we speak about not only red, but red color, the color word is also a facilitator of these processes, helpful for the executive functions, and in that way also helpful for the children with ADHD. Actually, I can't read this sentence. But there's Czervene's color, isn't it? So it is something about, can you find the car that has, but not a...
It means, sorry, it means, is this car really red?
Yeah, okay, thank you. Is this car really red? No, it isn't. But you can see one other of the other cars that is red. True? And the child can pick out the red. And then there is this generalization to secure the transfer, that the child can use this in the real world, and that it's not only related to these items that we have used. And when I spoke about my grandchild and the clock, the watches, then I spoke about the generalization. And the generalization is to look beyond the total identical, similar, like these two, which is identical. Look here, those two things are not identical, but there is a similarity. And in this way, also the color is good to use because it speaks so loud. It's easy to, for those who are not have these problems that I described, to know that, yeah, they are similar in having a red color. And the kids wouldn't say that immediately. They would say, okay, yes, this one is red, and point to one of them, and this one is red. And if we can give them also the word similar in, they are similar in having a red color. Could be a difficult sentence, but it is really important tools for the executive functions, for the awareness, and for the evaluation, and also for the emotions. Because when such kind of lights goes up and you see the similarities across differences, that really speaks to our emotions, and it's interesting. Can you point to those houses in Bergen and Norwegian city that has a red color, or that has red colors, because they haven't the same color? It's a difficult task. It's not for the kids, and especially not for the kids who struggle. It is for grown-ups, we could say. And look here, look at this boy. Actually, he's Czech, and his preschool teacher was in the first course we had in Czech Republic in Prague in 2008 or 2010, I'm not sure, probably 2010. It was arranged by the Člověk v tísni, People in Need, the organization who works for children with problems and with people at risk for inclusion. Yes, Diana, thank you for your adding about the last picture. They are similar in having a shiny red color. That's really true. That's really true. So but back to this picture, it is sent to me of this preschool from this preschool teacher. No. I'm going to show you maybe a picture later about this. But this picture I took myself, and it was in a situation. The group was there, and this boy was asked about the red colors, because they wanted to show us. I was a guest in this kindergarten at that point, and he had learned about red colors a long time ago. And when we were there, she wanted to give the children the opportunity to demonstrate what they've learned. And she asked, can you find something having a red color? And look at him, and look at this smile on his face. It is possible to be happy like that, because you find something having a red color. Now, I've spent a lot of time with what I find very important, also for the kids with ADHD. And in the rest of my presentation, there is some examples of how we can analyze not only the colors, but also shapes. And let me go past this. And the positions. And the places. No, the sizes, big size related to. I have a problems when the pictures are just in Czech. Big size related to, small size related to, because, and in saying it that way, it sounds more complicated, but actually it is a better description of what actually happens, because size is a relative concept, and we need something to relate to, which is in these pictures. So if the focus is on big size related to, then it's possible to find the apple who has a big size related to the other. It's possible to find a dog that has a big size related to the other, and so on with the other things here. And it's also possible to find the similarity between that clown and that pig, purpose to save money, pig. I don't know the term in English, but they are similar in having a big size compared to or related to the one beside. Very complicated, and it is a long process for kids with ADHD, and for most other kids also 5-6 years. We also have placements, a lot of placements. I hope that is, yeah. And the basic concepts, they are the properties of almost everything. And it's easy to make tasks in which we pause the kid to use their executive function and to find, for example, the one of these figures that would fit in here. Anybody who want to tell which one is it that fits in here? Which one of these fit into the system in the empty box here?
2 yellow triangles.
2 yellow triangles, yes. And why? Why is it that one that fits in? What do we need to look at them?
Because in each column and in each line, the shapes change and the number of shapes changes as well.
Exactly. But there are 2 blue, you said the shape and the number of shapes. And is there another feature that we need to take into account here? Why isn't it this one? It has the number 2 and it has a triangle shape, and the same with this. So, but it's quite correct what you said, because this line has blue colors. So then it must be this, and then the other 2 are excluded. And what happens in this processing is that our brain works, and it works here, and we analyze. We kind of abstract from the whole pictures, and we consider the color and the shape and the number. And there are other types of tasks that can give the same, like here. Here the idea is look at the 2 that has an arrow between them, and look if you can find some similarities and some differences. And that also trigger the processes in our executive functions in a way that is very helpful, and that also has a transfer function that makes it easier in other situations for them to concentrate and to focus what is important to focus. It can be figures, more abstract figures like in these, and it can also be elements that they need to distinguish between. For example, the two letters D and B that is easily confused by kids. And very important not to confuse. And to being able to describe similarities and differences in a lot of examples, at least, have proved to be the clue what we need to do. I have more examples in my presentations, and I will give you access now. Actually, I probably shouldn't send this to the whole list. So if you could just write your emails into the chat, I will send it to you, and I will also add these pictures to what I sent to Mottokursklika Klicka, so that you can have it with the Czech language. Then you can have a look and see maybe something here is something you can use with your kids, and maybe with particular relevance for those kids with ADHD, but also for kids with other problems. I'm soon going to stop. So let me do like this, because I want to show you this girl. She was coming to me because her mother was very frustrated. She was very easily distracted, this girl, and her mother knew how to work with her, so she didn't really she overcame these problems, but the school didn't. And the school didn't manage to teach this girl, and what they did was to put her on an easier curriculum. And her mother did not want that to happen. So she asked us to work with her and evaluate her and see what you can do and how can we help her. And it was a process, but she was able to see, as you can see here, she has two four-sided shapes with red colors. She can see they are identical. And she can see about the two in the right picture. They are not identical, but they are similar in having red colors. And she was able to learn other basic concepts in the same way. Of course, there was a lot of processes and a lot of tasks between, as a preparation for her discovery of similarities and her way of expressing them. But actually, I have shown you the steps in this between the association and an association with the broad spectrum of examples of, for example, the red colors and the discrimination between the red colors and other colors, and then finally to be able to discover the similarities. But what was most difficult for her was to do the analysis. And this is a game that requires the same analysis as those tasks I just showed you did as well. And here, it's a lot of game, and you can draw this small card and ask, for example, who has got a figure with a yellow color and a triangle shape? And the colors are not so good in this picture, in this presentation, as I can see, but maybe you can see the figure, I'm not sure. In this case, she is able to draw the card and to tell about the figure and who is having it. Maybe you can see that this is a figure on her tray on the table. So it will be she who recognizes it and who gets something to put on her tray. And this requires this type of work in the brain. And what was the fact with this girl was that she was very easily distracted. She was almost in the beginning not able to complete a task. She was just fluctuating between what was going on around her. and it's possible to understand the school problem actually. We worked with her for several months, and I asked her mother, how does it go? And her mother said, actually, she called me after the first lesson or the couple of first lessons, and she said, I can already see a difference. And I would say she must have been able to see small differences then. But after some months, I asked her to tell about her experiences, and I used it in a presentation. And let's see if I can show you this video. And if you can hear, please let me know if you can hear this mother speaking.
Did you see any changes, any examples of changes you saw?
Yes, indeed. Just giving messages, passing on messages, and like half a year ago, I would never expect her to understand the meaning. But the other day, I decided to let it give it a go, and I asked her, could you please go upstairs and get the striped towel that's next to the sewing machine on the table? And she did. And it doesn't, it might not sound like such a big thing, but half a year ago, I could never have said that to her, expecting her to understand it. So that's totally new. Last spring, all those expressions and words, understanding them.
Yeah.
So, discussions, excuse me for taking all the time, which is what I've done. So, this girl, she was not diagnosed with ADHD, but she could easily have been. But there were such a lot of other things that was also the problem, and yeah. So, but I cannot take the time to explain that in fully. Just say thank you very much for your attention, and thanks for your comment and your examples. That's always very nice to be able to relate to other perspectives and other experiences. So thank you very much. All the best. Maybe we see some of you tomorrow. We'll see then. It is about math.